This week's guest is music producer AlxndrBrwn. How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. Um, Obviously you're a music producer, like predominantly hip hop sort of stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what sort of music were you into, like growing up? Was it hip hop stuff or
Yeah,
other things?
yeah. Growing up, it was mostly hip hop stuff. A little bit of like my dad loved like Black Sabbath and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, things like that. So I was listening to things like that and hip hop. The first record that I ever bought, not like vinyl record, but like
Yeah.
CD, was like the No Way Out album from Puff
Uh,
Daddy and the whole Bad Boy camp. That was like my first record or album that I bought, and then it was and like most of the time like my babysitter would be like the TV, so
yeah.
I'd be left home alone like during the day, and like I would watch like MTV, VH1, and there was like this channel called The Box. I don't know if you had that over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like people could call in and like request videos and stuff. And like my early memories of like always watching the Cream video from Wu-Tang, always that. And then like there was I think it was The World Is Yours from Nas that would always pop up, and things like that I was always drawn to. Big L, big like Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, like that was a huge thing for me in my childhood. Even though it's such a graphic album, and I don't know how like I was able to listen to that, but like I did. But it was good though because it gave me like different perspectives on life,
Yeah.
from those environments. I grew up in a pretty hectic environment, so like see like hearing of other perspectives in that environment, just like, oh, okay, like now I know why people are this way, or like what they're doing here, what they're doing there. Because I'm just a kid. I'm just like, why are these people always assholes? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Like, why one minute like am I being like walked down the street by somebody, and then the next minute I'm being chased by somebody? Like, what the fuck is going on? Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like it,
Yeah. So it gave you that sort of perspective of like the sort of the street world almost, like what was going on the street sort of thing.
yeah, and yeah, I would always look for songs that told stories, like anything that was telling a story about anything. So I was always trying to learn about that stuff so I could get a better understanding of what was going on.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it was always mostly hip hop stuff, and then I loved like rock stuff like Black Sabbath too. My dad got me a guitar when I was a little kid, and I would listen to songs like Black Sabbath songs, and I would learn how to play them. I learned how to play like Metallica songs, and like really easy stuff. Like I would learn how to play like Blink 182 songs, and you know just like basic like guitar songs for a kid to learn. Like I would just do that, and I didn't really even think about like producing hip hop music until like I graduated from college, because I went to college for audio engineering. I always knew I wanted to do something with music, and I didn't like being on a stage playing guitar, or I didn't like being the focus of things. So like I figured out that like, oh, you can be an audio engineer and like that's a thing, like people do that. I'm like, all right, so I went to school for that. And then when I got out of school, I didn't have anything to practice audio engineering on, like practice mixing or anything like that. So, and no band was gonna like let me test things out on their stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna make my own stuff. And I'll learn how to mix with my own stuff. And it was a really terrible beats at first, but it helped me get more of an understanding about mixing and what I learned from school. Because, you know, they teach you how to mix and record in school and all, but it's a completely different world when you're actually doing it.
You say you were learning, simple songs on the guitar. Is the guitar the only instrument you can play, or can you play other instruments as well?
I've learned other things throughout the years. Like I've learned how to play piano a tiny bit. Like, you know, I know how to build chords, and I know how to listen for things. So like I can play that. I can play bass, guitar, drums a little bit. I can't play horns or like cello or violin or anything like that. That's all really hard stuff, especially violin. I got a violin years ago, and I tried to learn, and I couldn't even like play a single note on it. Like, how do people do this? I got frustrated with it and quit. But yeah, like I learned how to make beats off of trying to learn how to mix off them, and then I eventually got kind of good at it, and then I'm like, maybe this could be a thing too.
Yeah.
And then I started making songs with my buddy Nelson and JC in Orlando, where I went to school at. Actually, Nelson is on Glow Kid. He's the artist called For Me on the song Heavy Footed. That was his first time recording in like 10 years. Like I haven't seen him in forever, and he I found out that he lived pretty close in Virginia Beach. So he drove up to my house and kicked it, and he just did it in like 3 takes. I'm like, damn, man, like, you sure you haven't stopped recording? You killed that.
That's nice though, that's sort of come full circle, you know, like someone you started with being on like your first sort of proper project. That's really cool.
Yeah, like we've been talking about doing music for a minute too, and then like I put this together, and I'm like, dude, this would mean so much to me if you could get on this, like the full circle thing. Like we learned how to make music together based off of our inspiration from Strange Famous Records. So like to have you on a Strange Famous Records project with me, like that would be like incredible. That would be like a really crazy moment. And it worked out, and like he recorded his thing, we sent it to Sage, and Sage was like, wow, like that was really dope. Like he did a good job for not like recording him for so long, and it's like, yeah, we'll keep that on there.
So with like your when you went to school for engineering and stuff, have you only sort of I know recently you've been mixing a lot of stuff for Strange Famous, but did you sort of do any of that professionally, like mixing and mastering and stuff like that?
Yeah, so after college, me and my friends did our thing for a little bit, and then I moved back to Maryland for a while, and I was kind of not really doing anything for a minute, and just, you know, it was kind of lost, just kind of like, you know, whatever, I'm doing this, just kind of coasting. And those same people called me up, and they were like, yo, we have a house in LA, and we have an open room, you should come. And I'm like, okay, I'll come out. Like, I'm not doing anything here, I might as well save up some money and come out. So I saved up a little bit of money, and I winged it. I moved out there, and I wasn't really getting work at first until a buddy of mine that works he used to work at Patchwork Studios in Atlanta. He bumped into this dude named Rodney Jerkins there, and Rodney was talking about how he needed an engineer in LA, and my buddy was like, my dude just moved out there, like, you know, I'll give you his contact or whatever. And he's like, yeah, just tell him to email me his resume. It's like, all right. So we got the email exchange, and then I sent my resume and I went in for an interview, and then I started my internship with him. And, you know, I've got to work with a bunch of crazy people. Like I've worked with Britney Spears. I haven't got a credit, like a legitimate credit with her, but I've worked with Britney. I've worked with Justin Bieber. I've worked with tons of different people. My first like credit was with Jessie J.
Okay.
Yeah, the song called Alive off of the Alive album. Rodney produced that. But yeah, I got recording credits for that. And then I started doing mixing and things on my own, because they were letting me do work, but they weren't like really letting me do work. So I started kind of like doing things on my own. And that's when I linked up with my buddy Cap Callis, and I started doing a lot of mixing for him. And then Cap introduced me to a student named John Connor, and I started mixing for him. I did a couple of his mixtapes. I mixed some of his songs on his SOS album. And through John, we got to go to Dr. Dre's studio, because John was signed to Aftermath for a little bit. So I was in there for a while, just like a fly on the wall, like sitting in Dre's studio.
Wow.
Watching all them work. Like right around when we were there, they were making Compton, the album Compton.
Oh,
I wasn't, you know, we weren't really around them doing that, but I was more in the room with Connor when he was working on his own stuff, and then he would do some writing and offer for other people. But that was a pretty cool experience. And that's right when I had an accident too in a studio, where someone played something really loud and my head was near a speaker, and it gave me tinnitus in my ear. So now I have that constant ringing in my ear.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, like, because obviously you spoke about that on Instagram and stuff, and it's just, do you feel that gives you something special, or does it make your life harder, like you being a producer with tinnitus? Like,
it makes things so much harder.
Yeah,
so much harder, but it also makes certain things easier. Like if I'm, and this is just my perception on it, I don't know what is actually going on, you know, but like when I'm sitting down mixing and I hear a harsh frequency, it hurts my ears way harder than it used to. So then I'm like, I know that that's something that I have to figure out right there and fix. You know, and it's definitely made me more conscious too of like how loudly I play things, and, you know, giving myself breaks from audio. Like you're supposed to give yourself 15-minute breaks every couple hours or so. I would work for like 12 hours straight and not care, because I love doing what we were doing out there. So we would be in there all day, all night, and not taking any breaks, just going hard. But now I'm like real conscious of things like that, you know, and especially if the ringing is bad for a week, then I know to take a week off and just like chill and, you know, try and keep things at a minimum, wear earplugs at work, and, you know, eat right, drink a lot of water. And then when it gets back to normal, I'm like, all right, now I can start working on some music again.
Yeah, I suppose it does give, it makes you be that extra bit careful that maybe, like you say, you weren't when you were younger.
Yeah,
Is yeah, it might be, you think, oh, maybe I won't crank it, at
yeah,
this time I'll.
yeah. Mine's my situation too is pretty rare because it definitely triggers other things for me mentally.
Yeah,
Um, over time, it does affect other people mentally too. Like it'll affect your memory. It'll affect your um. It'll make you real irritable. It'll do things like that to you. But like, I me going through what I went through growing up, like it's now that when that's bad, it's a trigger for
yeah,
like anxiety or depression or the PTSD spell things, or like it it definitely it's definitely a big mental battle, like with that. Like it that affects everything else. Like if I have a bad week of my ears ringing, I won't be able to sleep. And then from not being able to sleep, I'll get headaches. And then from getting headaches, it'll turn into migraines. And then it'll upset my stomach. Then I'll start getting sick. And then that'll evolve into nightmares. And then it's a crazy vicious cycle until it calms down. When it calms down, and then I figure out a way to like, through like meditation or, other things, it'll
yeah. So it is it because like I assume I don't know for other friends of mine that are like musicians, that like music's like their escape. So if they're feeling miserable or anxious or whatever, they can sort of escape into their music. But I suppose if you're if you're like you say, if all this is being brought on by the fact you're having a bad time with your ears, you can't even like jump into your music to sort of distract yourself, can you?
Yeah, I mean, I can like if my ears are bad and I really need to make something, I will bust out my OP1. And where is that thing? I'll bust this little thing out and I'll make a beat on this, and I'll use my Bluetooth speaker and I'll just keep it over there. And and at a low volume, and I'm still making stuff, I'm still playing with audio, but I'm not listening at a volume that'll mess with my ears. So if I need to, I'll do that.
Yeah,
But usually it's okay. Like I learned how to deal with it pretty well. Like when it first happened, I was scared. I didn't know. I thought instantly like, oh, my career's ruined. I'm not gonna be able to do anything with music. I'm not gonna, this. And the crappy part about it was I was right when it happened. I was right in the middle of mixing someone's album, and they paid me and everything. They paid me in full, and that happened. And then I started trying to mix their album, and I couldn't hear what I was doing because the ringing was so intense, because I was doing bad things like drinking caffeine. Caffeine is terrible for tinnitus. Like things like ibuprofen is bad for it. High salt content in your food is bad. Um, all these different things can affect it, and I was doing all those things. So like, yeah, I was not having a good time mixing his album, so I gave him his money back and was like, dude, I can't do it. Like I I could, yeah, but like I'm not gonna be able to give you my fullest potential like this. Like you're better off giving this money to someone else that can mix this better than I can right now, because I can't do a thing. So then after that, my computer started acting up crazy, and I didn't have anything to make music on or do anything with, and I was just pretty stagnant in LA. Like I was just making enough to to pay rent and all that. So I started thinking about moving back to Maryland so that I could have an opportunity to get a new computer, get new equipment, go to the doctor, figure things out with my ears. So I wanted to do all these things. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back to Maryland. And as I was gearing up to move back to Maryland, my father passed away from a heroin overdose. So then I'm like, all right, that's it. Like, I'm going back. Like, damn it. Like, you know, I went through that whole phase of like beating myself. Like, man, I wish I would have told him that I was coming back. Maybe he would have like been inspired to like just go through, because he died like he was on his last day of the methadone program. Like, if he didn't relapse that day, he would have went to have his last dose of methadone and been good.
Yeah.
But he relapsed. and when he relapsed, I'm guessing that there was a high content of fentanyl in whatever he did, because it got him pretty quick, and that's been going around a lot over here. Is, you know, the heroin is cut with fentanyl a lot, and I don't really understand that, but yeah, that happened. So then I was like, all right, I'm coming back. I packed up my little ass Cobalt car and drove across the country again and moved back and got up with the doctor, figured it out, learned about all the things to stay away from. And then within like a couple of months, like my ears were good. And then like I started developing techniques and patience for it. And, you know, sometimes it'll like, don't get me wrong, like sometimes it will really bother me, and like, you know, it'll send me into like the worst attitude ever. But you know, I've come a long way with it, and I'm pretty proud of myself for that, and still being able to do this in some form and fashion. You know, like I can still mix. Like I don't have any hearing loss. Like I have a little bit, and that's where the ringing is filling the void of.
Yeah.
But it's not like anything substantial to where I can't do it. You know, I've even cleared it through like ENT doctors, and like, I can still do this, right? like yeah, like there's no reason why you can't. Like, you know, just be careful. You know, don't be a fucking idiot with your audio. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, the music that you've produced is a testament to that. Like, you know, if you heard like some of the songs you've produced, you wouldn't go, oh, okay, this guy's got tinnitus. What? Like, it
Yeah.
just doesn't comprehend, because like you know your music's so good. The first track I heard that you produced, but obviously at the time I didn't know it was you, was Grace by Sage. And I remember you telling me on Instagram that you'd sent him the wrong beat, or
No, like, so I sent him one beat originally that he wanted really badly, because I originally had this beat on SoundCloud, and a friend of mine tweeted the beat to him, and then he messaged me and was like, hey man, I really like this beat, like, you think I can have it? I'm like, yeah, of course. And he's like, all right, can you take it down? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take it down. I took it down. I sent it to him, sent him the track outs and everything, and then we just stayed in contact talking. And then I made the Grace beat one night. It was real late. Can't remember what was going on that day, but I was real tired, and I made that beat that night, and then I sent it to him. And then after I sent it to him, I listened back to it, and I'm like, oh no, like, why did you send that? Like, you could do something better. Like, you could do something better. Like, why would you send that one? I'm like, man, like, I was beating myself up over it all night. I'm like, man, like, he's not gonna like it. He's not gonna like it. And then like a couple days later, sent back the song to it. I'm like, whoa. And it like completely changed my perception on the beat. Like
Yeah.
hearing him, how he did that on that beat, like, I guess it is a pretty cool beat. I do like it now. um, but yeah, that was a weird feeling. That was a weird feeling.
It's the second track on Copper Gone as well. You know, it's like whereas like Pressure Cooker feels like a kind of intro to the album. You know, Grace is like the first sort of track, isn't it? You know, it's yeah, it blew me away the first time I heard it. I think Copper Gone is a masterpiece. Like, you know,
That Capricorn was so good. It still is so good. Like one of my favorite ones that he's done. I really loved Human to Death Dance, and you know, Personal Journals was the first thing that I ever heard from him. My buddy Jesse, that actually introduced me to Sage, not personally, but introduced me to his music. We were working in the same restaurant, so we would like every day we would come in, we would trade CDs.
yeah,
Like, oh, check this out, and you know, and then he gave me Personal Journals and was like, check this out. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like, and then that kind of like introduced me to a whole other world of hip hop music. And I started diving into Atmosphere, and you know, and then learning about the older groups that they had, like Deep Puddle Dynamics with Alias and all the Anticon guys. Yeah, and I kind of got started getting addicted to that style of producing, like hearing those types of beats and hearing people rap that way, because I felt like I could relate to it more.
yeah. It's
Um,
the storytelling as well that you were talking about earlier, isn't it? You know,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
so you first like obviously you know Grace was on Copper Gone, and then your first release through Strange Famous was the AlxndrBrwn project.
Yeah,
Like, how did that come about? With that being released by Sage?
that's a funny one too, because um, I shortly like 2 years after I moved back home to Maryland, I stopped producing again, and then because I wasn't feeling really inspired by it, so then I started drawing and painting, like teaching myself how to draw, teaching myself how to paint, messing around with cameras, just trying other things out and seeing if I could get inspired again by other things. And then I'm like, dude, you just gotta do it. You just gotta sit down and make beats, even if they're crappy. Who cares? Just sit down and make some beats and whatever. And I like that album, Alex Brown Project. I literally forced myself to do that. Like, and it was so uncomfortable, and like just forcing myself to make beats. And then it came together the way that it did. And I was just gonna put it on SoundCloud and call it a day, and you know, and then just keep it moving and try and do something better. But I sent it to Sage first and asked him if he liked it, you know, if thought he could thought, you know, maybe I could change something in it or whatever. And then he was like, I love this. Like, what are your plans with it? Like, what are you gonna do with it? I'm like, all right, just put it on SoundCloud and just have it there for people to check it out. And he's like, well, you know, we could like put it on streaming platforms for you, like, you know, if you want, like we could release it for you and have it be like a Strange Famous Records digi release thing. And you know, if you wanted to do cassettes or anything like that, we could do that too for you. I'm like, really? Like, you think it's good like that? Like, you think it's worth it? It's like, yeah. Like, okay, yeah, go for it. Here you go. Do it up, man. And that's how that happened. And that inspired me, like seeing that happen and then getting the cassette tapes back and listening back to it like on my cassette player. like inspired me more, and I got this like crazy drive in me to like keep going and making more beats. And then I made Glow Kid, I think summer of 2020, and I made all the instruments, or all the beats, all the transitions and everything. I had it all laid out and everything. And then Sage and I both felt like it was missing something else. So we got Buddy Peace to come in and add cuts to all the songs. And then we were like, and I was like, nah, we should get people to rap on it. Like we should, we should, like, you should rap on it, and they should rap on it, and this person should rap on it. Like we should get people to rap on it. It's like, yeah, we could try that. Like we could try luck with it and see what happens. And it all happened so easily. Like everyone was so down to do it. And it was, I don't know, it made me feel so happy that everyone like really dug what was going on, and it inspired them to put words to the songs.
Yeah, because like with like Sage and Book 65, they like haven't really been putting out much music lately, have they? So it's cool to see them on the album, and then obviously Mopes as well.
Yeah, dude, and
you got some amazing artists on there,
Swell, dude, and yeah, there's a lot of good ones, man. I love Cast One's song, the Boy Nostalgic for the Future. I felt like that was, if I wrote a song on Glow Kid, that's how it would have came out. Like I related so heavy to it. I'm like, man, that's, plus that beat, that beat special too. I really like that one a lot.
Yeah. It's crazy, like listening to it, because it just sounds right with the vocalists. It's crazy to think that at some point it was going to be just like another instrumental album, like the first one. That's wild.
Yeah, that whole process was so fun. The whole Glow Kid process, and I'm still shocked that Ty did the artwork for it. Like that blew me away. I just, like, for the artwork, I took a picture of my studio, and I was like, would you want to do something with this? Like, draw an album cover for me? And he's like, I got you, man. And he just did it. He did it, and it came out so good.
And for anyone that hasn't seen it, it's like, it's your setup where you produce music with like an alien version of you, sort of
like a octopus guy.
Yeah.
Kind of juggling a bunch of stuff that I juggle while producing. Like it's got like he's like holding the OP1, and then cell phone and a tablet and this and that. Yeah, it's crazy because pictures on the wall on the cover, it's like an eye and then a heart on either side, and the eye in my actual room is a J. Dilla painting that I did, which is a donut. and then on the right is a heart painting. Like I did a heart painting, and J. Dilla over here, and then he put Glow Kid on the TV, and I didn't really catch it until he said it, but he's like, did you catch the I Heart Glow Kid thing going on with the cover? I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I caught it, but I didn't think of it that way.
That's so cool. And so, like, where does the name Glow Kid come from?
Glow Kid, so that comes from, I was searching around on the internet, and it's like, so like, I guess my perception on it is like, every night when I go to bed, before I go to bed, I'm sitting there on my phone, or like, or on my MPC and or the MacBook, and my face is glowing at night, and I'm up I'm up late at night, I'm tired and whatever, but I have all these screens just blasting my face. So it's kind of like illuminating me. So that's where, to me, that's where that came from, Glow Kid. And then like there's a whole other side to that where it's like, screen addiction and this and that, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of different layers to it. I think there's like a author somewhere that had like a similar title. It was like Glow Kids, about screen addiction, like for early on kids. Like it's like, I don't know. It's like basically like, be careful about giving your kids iPads and this and that, and
Yeah.
let them play
I,
and do it first.
I suppose like even going back to like you saying like TV being the babysitter is like
Yeah,
the glow of the TV on you as a kid.
yeah,
It's such a great record. I genuinely recommend people go out and listen to it because it's so good, and it's so like strangefamous.com, but it's like you've got it up on Bandcamp and Spotify and everywhere, haven't you?
yeah. Apple Music. It's on Tidal too. Like I just recently checked out Tidal, and I saw it up there. And Tidal's actually pretty interesting. Apparently, they give more to the artists than other streaming platforms. It's apparently more fair. And it's free now. It's a free platform for you to stream music off of. I think it's more like Pandora-ish for the free side, but if you buy into it, then you can like choose what songs you want to play and this and
Yeah,
that. Um, yeah, yeah, it's everywhere, and I fucking love it too. Like I just I love reflecting back on making it because that was the funnest project I've ever made. It just everything just felt right, felt good. Like making the beats, making the transitions. I was having fun. Like I was like in here, like smiling, like making the stuff and like putting it all together. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be so good. This is gonna be so good. And then it just evolved into something else that I didn't predict it to evolve into. And I was probably annoying like the sage, and I'm like, dude, I'm so fucking. I would always tell them like how grateful I am of like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this is so cool. Like I want to do another one after this. Like I want to keep pumping out albums like this, like the compilation things, and just making every beat fit into each other and transition into each other well, and make it
yeah,
like this whole thing versus just like a collection of songs. I like that.
yeah. Because that's the thing. It definitely deserves to be listened to in that way, doesn't it? Where you put it on with a like pair of headphones or whatever and listen to the whole thing because
Yeah,
it just flows beautifully. It's almost like it's made for vinyl or something, isn't it? Where it just sort of
yeah.
plays on.
You put it on, just let it go from start to finish. That's how I intended it to be heard. I mean, obviously you can skip around or whatever, but you'll miss out on a lot of small details in there. Like there's a lot of different perceptions of different things in there mixed into the transitions. I've made all the beats and the transitions during like the peak of COVID. So like, you know, you go on social media and you see this person preaching this or this person talking that, and these people fighting about this, about COVID and this and that, and other things going on in the world. Like it's a mixed point of view on all of that thrown
Yeah,
into the transitions, kind of hidden. But yeah, I had my buddy Amber do some vocal acting in there for me. So she like in the intro, like she acted as like a news anchor and was like, you know, saying what she was saying in the intro. And then I had her just ramble a couple of times, and she was just rambling she sent me, I think it was like an hour or so long of like rambling about like different things going on, and it's all like cut up throughout the project. Like right before, I think it's right before Dream School, she says like some people have been red pilled, and then in the Dream School. um yeah, it's filled with all kinds of cool stuff like that. I feel like that's how like I want to keep doing these
Yeah.
projects. Like if I keep making the AlxndrBrwn projects, like I want to do them like that. And then if an artist wants me to produce an entire album for them, then it's, if they want it like that too, then I'll do it like that too. Um, but I definitely want to do all mine like that. Do it all differently every time, but like the same objective of just making everything feel like one massive thing versus a collection of songs.
Yeah. Because that's like I'm feeling that more and more just lately, where like I don't know if it is a streaming thing or whatever, but lots of albums just lately do feel like a load of songs, where it's like you get, well, I mean, what was like Donda was 20 odd songs or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's way too long, and it just feels like a load of songs just thrown together, where it's like it's nice, it feels ridiculous, but it feels sort of old school to have, a cohesive sort of project that flows and works, that's not just a load
Yeah.
of 2-minute tracks for people to stream on Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that shit way more.
No, it's cool. And so you said, like, that's sort of where you're going to go next, is just to keep, keep the momentum going and just,
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things in the works right now, producing wise, like through Strange Famous Records. Like I'm doing a bunch of different things, and then all those people are doing a bunch of different things too. So there's gonna be like a mass like this person drops this month. Boom, boom. Like every month it's gonna be like a new thing. I can't wait. There's so much good stuff. I I have to get I have to find time soon and start banging out a bunch of beats, because yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that needs to get done. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm kind of like, you ever get that feeling where like something cool is about to happen and you're excited, but it's all on you to make it happen. You're kind of nervous about it too, so you're just like tiptoeing around it.
Yes, yeah,
That's kind of how I am right now. I'm like, I got to get my mind right first. I got to get in that space first for that. But
yeah.
it'll happen soon. I feel like it's gonna happen this weekend. I'm gonna make a bunch this weekend.
That's awesome, man. I always look forward to whatever Strange Famous put out, because it's like it's got to that point now where I trust Sage, and I know that he wouldn't put stuff out that sucks. It's gonna be of a quality and of a style, and
Yeah,
like the Mopes projects and like Blacklick stuff, and your record. It's just been, just lately, it's just been banger after banger, and I've been loving it.
yeah, dude. I trust Sage with my life, like because he's so honest with everything, and I needed that. I needed a person in my life that was honest,
Yeah.
and just a good human being. Sage is just like a great human being, and he's honest. And like if I send him something that he doesn't like, he'll tell me he doesn't like it, and he'll tell me why he doesn't like it. But he'll also tell me, like, you know, don't let my opinion sway you on how you feel about it, you know, because how you feel about it is how you feel about it. But, you know, obviously you're asking me how I feel, so I'm going to tell you. And I love that, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, it's cool, you know, but like, that's not really what they're thinking. They're just saying that so that you kind of feel okay in the conversation, or, you know, they don't want to feel awkward telling you that, you know, it's this and it's that. When in reality, it's like, nah, like, I don't have emotional attachment to it like that. Like, I'm asking you if you like it, and if you don't like it, then that would be me being like, okay, like, how do I make this so that they will like it a little more, or maybe
and that, like, the constructive feedback, isn't it? Where it's not just someone going, "This sucks."
Yeah,
it's like, I don't like this about it, or I don't, or, you know, if I think if you change this, it's so much better than someone just telling you like, oh, this is trash, or, you know, or
yeah.
to have that honest, you know, constructive feedback important.
Yeah, I don't like those where like, oh, this is terrible. Like, one, tell me why it's terrible. Like, oh, it just sucks. Like, well, no, you're kind of being a hater right now. Like, I mean, right now, like that happened a lot when I was in LA. Like, when I was interning, like, the manager there was telling another producer, like, this producer came in with beats or whatever and played him some beats or something, and he's like, it sound like they should be on a Nickelodeon commercial or something. It's like, damn, like, okay, brutally honest, like, tell him why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's strangefamousrecords.com. Obviously, people can find out more about you and about your projects, but where else should we send people who want to check out your stuff?
I'm on not every social media platform. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as AlxndrBrwn, AlxndrBrwn. And then Strange Famous Records. I have SoundCloud too under that name as well. SoundCloud isn't really updated that much. I think the last thing that I have on SoundCloud was a holiday thing that I did last year. But yeah, Strange Famous Records or AlxndrBrwn on social media, usually there.
Awesome.
Always talk to anybody if anybody wants to say hi.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like this podcast's been a long time in the making. It's like, because we hooked up on Instagram the end of last year maybe, and I was like, as soon as you've got something to promote, you got to come on the podcast. So
Man,
it's been a long time coming.
I was excited to do it.
But yeah, like, thanks ever so much for your time, dude.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for having me on.
This is not the place for it. And I'm not with that.
End of the new law, beginning of the new. I'm too raw, I'm one with everything that you let rule you. I put the root down, if it's giving me a skewed view, and search for a perfect perch befitting of a guru.
You have to polish yourself, Mark.